ocean is a world of layers, each one stranger and more mysterious than the last. But there is one layer, hidden between the sunlit surface and the pitch-black abyss, that has haunted the dreams of explorers and scientists for generations. It is a place where light fades and darkness grows, where predators and prey are locked in a silent, eternal dance. This is the Twilight Zone, the ocean's most dangerous layer, a realm of secrets, survival, and the unknown. Imagine standing on the deck of a ship at midnight, the sea stretching out in every direction, black and endless. The surface is calm, but beneath your feet a world is shifting. As you peer over the rail, you know that just a few hundred meters below, sunlight is dying. The water grows colder, the pressure mounts, and the rules of life begin to change. This is the threshold, the borderland between what we know and what we can only imagine. The Twilight Zone, also known as the Mesopelagic, lies between 200 and 1,000 meters below the surface. Here sunlight is a memory, faint, blue, and quickly swallowed by the deep. It is a world in perpetual dusk where shadows rule and vision is a luxury. For most of human history, this layer was a mystery, a place unreachable by divers and invisible to the naked eye. Even today, with all our technology, we have only begun to scratch the surface of its secrets. What makes the Twilight Zone so dangerous? It is not just the darkness or the cold or the crushing pressure, though all of these are present and all are deadly. It is the unpredictability, the sense that anything could be lurking just out of sight. Here the food web is a razor's edge and survival depends on adaptation, cunning, and sometimes pure luck. Creatures of the Twilight Zone have evolved in ways that defy belief. Bodies that glow in the dark, eyes that see in near total blackness, jaws that unhinge to swallow prey larger than themselves. But the Twilight Zone is not just a biological marvel. It is a crossroads, a place where the ocean's great migrations unfold every night. As the sun sets, billions of animals rise from the depths in the largest movement of life on Earth, a vertical migration that has shaped the evolution of countless species. For predators, it is a hunting ground. For prey, a gauntlet of danger. For scientists, it is a living laboratory, a place where the boundaries of life are tested and retested with every passing moment. And yet, for all its danger, the Twilight Zone is also a place of beauty. Imagine drifting through this layer in a submersible, your lights cutting through the gloom. All around you, tiny sparks of bioluminescence flicker and fade, like stars in a midnight sky. Strange shapes drift past, jellyfish with trailing tentacles, fish with lanterns on their heads, squid that flash and vanish in the blink of an eye. It is a world that seems to exist outside of time, untouched by the chaos above or the silence below. But the Twilight Zone is not untouched. In recent years, scientists have discovered that this layer plays a crucial role in the health of the entire planet. It is a carbon sink, a place where the remains of surface life are consumed, recycled, and locked away for centuries. The creatures here are not just survivors, they are engineers, shaping the chemistry of the ocean and, by extension, the climate of the Earth itself. What happens in the Twilight Zone does not stay in the Twilight Zone. Its secrets ripple outward, affecting everything from the air we breathe to the weather we experience. And yet, for all we have learned, the Twilight Zone remains a frontier. Less than 1% of this layer has been explored in detail. Every dive, every sample, every new discovery raises more questions than it answers. What unknown creatures lurk in the darkness? What ancient secrets are buried in the sediment? What dangers and what wonders await those who dare to descend? Tonight we begin a journey into this hidden world. We will follow the path of light as it fades, tracing the boundaries of the Twilight Zone and uncovering the stories of the creatures who call it home. We will meet predators and prey, hunters and hunted, and witness the daily struggle for survival that plays out in the shadows. We will explore the science, the mystery, and the danger of the ocean's most enigmatic layer. But as we descend, remember, the Twilight Zone is not just a place. It is a question, a challenge, an invitation to look deeper. What lies beyond the reach of sunlight? What secrets are waiting in the dark? And are we ready for the answers we might find? As we cross the threshold from the familiar to the unknown, keep your senses sharp and your mind open. The Twilight Zone is waiting and its secrets are calling. In the next section, We will follow the first rays of sunlight as they penetrate the ocean, watching as the world above gives way to the world below. What happens when light begins to die? What changes in the creatures, the currents, and the chemistry of the sea? The answers may surprise you, and they are only the beginning. The journey into the Twilight Zone begins with a single fading ray of sunlight. At the ocean surface, light is abundant, painting the water in shades of turquoise and emerald. Life here is familiar. Schools of fish dart through sunbeams, plankton drift in the currents, and predators stalk their prey in plain sight. But as you slip beneath the waves, the world begins to change. The colors fade, the temperature drops, and the pressure mounts. Every meter down is a step away from the world you know, and a step closer to the unknown. At around 200 meters, the transformation is unmistakable. The sunlight that once danced on the surface is now a dim blue haze. Red and orange vanish first, swallowed by the water's filtering effect. Only the shortest wavelengths, blue and violet, can penetrate this far, and even they are quickly consumed. The ocean becomes a world of shadows where shapes blur and distances are hard to judge. For the creatures that live here, this is the edge of survival. Vision is no longer a reliable sense. Instead, life depends on other ways of perceiving the world. Here in the upper reaches of the Twilight Zone, the rules of life begin to shift. Many animals have evolved large, sensitive eyes, capable of detecting the faintest glimmer of light. Some, like the hatchetfish, have eyes that point upward, scanning for the silhouettes of prey or predators against the dim glow above. Others, like the bristlemouth, rely on senses we can barely imagine, detecting vibrations, chemical trails, or even the electric fields generated by other living things. But vision is not the only adaptation. In the Twilight Zone, camouflage is an art form. Many creatures are silver or transparent, blending seamlessly into the background. Some, like the glass squid, are nearly invisible, their bodies refracting what little light remains. Others use counter-illumination, producing their own faint glow on their bellies to match the light from above, erasing their shadows and confusing would-be hunters below. It is a world of deception, where survival depends on not being seen. Yet for all their tricks, the creatures of the Twilight Zone are not safe. Predators here are relentless, and the competition for food is fierce. The scarcity of light means that photosynthesis, the process that powers life at the surface, cannot occur. Instead, the food web is built on a rain of organic matter from above. Dead plankton, fish scales, and other detritus drift down from the sunlit zone, forming a constant slow-motion snowfall known as marine snow. Every scrap is precious, and every mouthful is fought over. This scarcity has driven some of the most extraordinary adaptations in the animal kingdom. Many Twilight Zone predators have enormous mouths and expandable stomachs, allowing them to gulp down prey almost as large as themselves. The gulper eel, for example, can unhinge its jaws to swallow fish, squid, or even other eels in a single bite. Others, like the dragonfish, have needle-sharp teeth and jaws that snap shut with lightning speed. In this world, opportunity is rare, and hesitation can mean starvation. But the Twilight Zone is not just a place of hunger and fear. It is also a place of wonder. As you drift deeper, the darkness is punctuated by flashes of light, tiny explosions of bioluminescence, created by living organisms. Some use this light to attract prey, others to communicate, and still others to startle or confuse predators. The result is a living light show, a silent fireworks display that plays out in slow motion, hidden from the world above. Bioluminescence is one of the great mysteries of the Twilight Zone. How do these creatures produce light in the absence of the sun? The answer lies in chemistry, a reaction between special proteins and enzymes that releases energy as photons. Some animals have evolved light-producing organs called photophores, which they can control with astonishing precision. Others rely on symbiotic bacteria, which live inside their bodies and glow in exchange for shelter and nutrients. The diversity of bioluminescent displays is staggering, from the slow pulse of a jellyfish to the rapid-fire flashes of a squid in flight. But why so much light in a world of darkness? For many creatures, bioluminescence is a weapon. The cookie-cutter shark, for example, uses glowing patches on its belly to lure prey close, then attacks with a mouthful of razor-sharp teeth. The Atolla jellyfish, when threatened, erupts in a spinning ring of blue light, drawing attention away from itself and toward the predator. Some fish use flashes to communicate with potential mates, while others use them to coordinate group movements or warn of danger. In the Twilight Zone, light is life and sometimes death. As we move deeper, the challenges mount. The pressure increases by 1 atmosphere for every 10 meters of depth, reaching more than 100 times the surface pressure at the bottom of the Twilight Zone. Temperatures drop to near freezing, and oxygen becomes scarce. For most surface-dwelling animals, these conditions would be lethal, but here life has found a way. Enzymes and cell membranes are specially adapted to function under crushing pressure. Blood chemistry is fine-tuned to extract every last molecule of oxygen. Some animals can even slow their metabolism to survive long periods without food. The Twilight Zone is a crucible, a place where only the most adaptable survive. But it is also a crossroads, a place where the surface and the deep are connected in ways we are only beginning to understand. Every night as darkness falls, billions of animals rise from the depths in a vertical migration, seeking food in the upper layers before retreating to safety at dawn. This daily movement is the largest migration on Earth, and it shapes the lives of creatures from the smallest plankton to the largest whales. But what drives this migration? What dangers do these animals face as they move between worlds? And what secrets are hidden in the currents that flow through the Twilight Zone? In the next section, we will follow the Great Migration, tracing the paths of predators and prey as they navigate the ocean's most dangerous layer. The answers may change the way you see the sea, and your place in it. As the sun dips below the horizon, a transformation sweeps through the ocean. The surface cools, the last rays of light vanish, and a silent signal ripples downward. It is time. From the depths of the Twilight Zone, billions of creatures begin to rise. This is the Great Vertical Migration, the largest movement of life on the planet, and it happens every single night, unseen by human eyes, but vital to the balance of the sea. Imagine drifting in a submersible, suspended in the blue-black gloom at 400 meters. All around you the water is still, the silence broken only by the faint hum of your vessel. Then as if on cue the darkness stirs. Tiny shapes emerge from the shadows, lanternfish, bristlemouth, shrimp, and squid, rising in shimmering waves toward the surface. They are drawn by hunger, by instinct, by the promise of food in the upper layers. But with every meter they climb, the danger grows. For the animals of the Twilight Zone, the vertical migration is a nightly gamble. The surface is rich in plankton and other food, but it is also a hunting ground for predators. By day, the risk is too great. Sunlight would reveal them to sharp-eyed hunters like tuna, dolphins, and seabirds. But at night, cloaked in darkness, they can feed with relative safety. Still, the journey is perilous. Predators lurk at every depth, and the line between hunter and hunted is razor thin. The scale of this migration is almost unimaginable. Every night, more than 10 billion tons of biomass, fish, crustaceans, and other animals, move up and down through the Twilight Zone. Some travel just a few meters. Others, like the lanternfish, may rise hundreds of meters in a single night. The movement is so massive that it can be detected by sonar, appearing as a deep scattering layer that rises and falls with the sun. For scientists, it is both a marvel and a mystery, a living tide that shapes the ocean's ecology in ways we are only beginning to understand. But why do these animals risk the journey? The answer lies in the delicate balance of energy and danger. The surface waters are rich in food, thanks to the constant rain of sunlight that powers photosynthesis. But they are also exposed, and the risk of predation is high. By feeding at night and retreating to the safety of the Twilight Zone by day, these animals maximize their chances of survival. It is a strategy honed by millions of years of evolution, a daily dance between hunger and fear. For the predators of the Twilight Zone, the migration is an opportunity. Some, like the viperfish, wait in ambush, their needle-like teeth ready to snare passing prey. Others, like the squid, use bursts of speed and clouds of ink to surprise and confuse their targets. Even larger animals, like whales and sharks, have learned to follow the migration, timing their hunts to coincide with the nightly ascent. The result is a complex web of interactions, a living tapestry of pursuit and escape that plays out in the shadows. But the migration is not just about food. It is also a vital part of the ocean's carbon cycle. As animals feed at the surface and return to the depths, they carry with them the remains of their meals, organic matter that would otherwise remain in the upper layers. When they excrete waste or die, this material sinks, carrying carbon down into the Twilight Zone and beyond. In this way, the migration acts as a biological pump, helping to regulate the planet's climate by sequestering carbon in the deep sea. The importance of this process cannot be overstated. Without the vertical migration, much of the carbon produced at the surface would remain in the atmosphere, contributing to global warming. Instead, the creatures of the Twilight Zone play a silent but crucial role in maintaining the balance of life on Earth. They are the unsung engineers of the planet, shaping the chemistry of the ocean and the air we breathe. Yet for all its importance, the migration remains one of the least understood phenomena in the natural world. Scientists are only beginning to unravel the complexities of this nightly journey. How do animals navigate in the darkness? What cues do they use to time their ascent and descent? How do changes in temperature, oxygen, and pressure affect their behavior? Each question leads to new discoveries, and each discovery reveals new layers of mystery. For the animals themselves, the migration is a test of endurance. The journey is exhausting and the risks are ever present. Some species have evolved special adaptations to survive the trip. Muscles that function in both warm and cold water, eyes that adjust to changing light, bodies that can withstand rapid changes in pressure. Others rely on timing and luck, moving in synchrony with their neighbors to confuse predators and increase their chances of survival. But not all make it. For every animal that returns to the safety of the Twilight Zone at dawn, many are lost to the jaws of predators. Their bodies become part of the marine snow, drifting down to feed the next generation of life in the deep. It is a cycle as old as the ocean itself, a reminder that in the Twilight Zone survival is never guaranteed. As dawn approaches, the migration reverses. The first hints of sunlight filter down and the animals begin their descent. The surface empties and the Twilight Zone fills once more with life. The cycle is complete, but the story is far from over. What happens to the creatures who remain behind? What secrets are hidden in the layers that never see the light? In the next section, we will dive deeper into the heart of the Twilight Zone, exploring the adaptations that allow life to thrive in this most dangerous of realms. The answers may challenge everything you thought you knew about the limits of survival. Beneath the surface, where sunlight is a fading memory and darkness presses in from all sides, life in the Twilight Zone is a masterclass in adaptation. Here every creature is a survivor, shaped by the relentless pressures of hunger, predation, and the unforgiving environment. The rules of the surface no longer apply. Instead, evolution has written a new script, one of innovation, camouflage, and cunning. Consider the hatchetfish, a small, silver-bodied predator whose very shape is a product of the Twilight Zone's unique demands. Its body is flattened and reflective like a living mirror, scattering what little light remains and rendering it nearly invisible to predators below. Its eyes are enormous, pointing upward to catch the faintest glimmer of movement above. But the hatchetfish's most remarkable adaptation is its ability to glow. Along its belly, rows of photophores emit a soft blue light, perfectly matching the dim glow from the surface. This counter-illumination erases its shadow, making it disappear into the gloom, a trick of light and biology that is as elegant as it is effective. The hatchetfish is not alone in its mastery of light. The Twilight Zone is home to a dazzling array of bioluminescent creatures, each with its own unique display. The lanternfish, perhaps the most abundant vertebrate on Earth, uses light not just for camouflage but for communication. Different species have distinct patterns of photophores, allowing them to recognize each other in the darkness. Some use flashes to attract mates while others signal danger or coordinate group movements. In a world where vision is limited, light becomes a language, a way to find friends, avoid enemies, and navigate the endless night. But bioluminescence is not just for show. For many predators, it is a weapon. The anglerfish, with its grotesque toothy grin and glowing lure, is the stuff of nightmares. Dangling a bioluminescent fishing rod in front of its mouth, it waits motionless in the gloom. Unsuspecting prey drawn by the promise of an easy meal swim too close, and in a flash the anglerfish strikes. Its jaws snap shut and the darkness claims another victim. In the Twilight Zone, deception is often the key to survival. Other creatures rely on stealth and speed. The bristlemouth, a tiny fish with a mouthful of needle-like teeth, is one of the most successful hunters in the mesopelagic. It moves in schools using coordinated bursts of light to confuse and corral prey. The viperfish, with its long hinged jaw and glowing photophores, is an ambush predator, striking with lightning speed from the shadows. Even the humble shrimp has evolved a suite of defenses. Some can snap their claws to create a shockwave, stunning predators and prey alike. Others release clouds of glowing chemicals, creating a smokescreen of light to cover their escape. But adaptation in the Twilight Zone is not just about hunting and hiding. It is also about endurance. The pressure here is immense, over 100 times greater than at the surface. For most animals, such conditions would be fatal, but the creatures of the mesopelagic have evolved special proteins and cell membranes that remain flexible under pressure. Their bodies are often gelatinous, lacking the rigid bones and air-filled spaces that would collapse in the deep. Some, like the deep-sea squid, can even adjust the composition of their body fluids to match the surrounding water, preventing dangerous imbalances. Temperature is another challenge. The Twilight Zone is cold, with temperatures hovering just above freezing. Metabolism slows and energy is precious. Many animals have adapted by reducing their activity, moving slowly and conserving energy whenever possible. Some can enter a state of torpor, lowering their metabolic rate to survive long periods without food. Others, like the dragonfish, have evolved enzymes that function efficiently at low temperatures, allowing them to remain active hunters even in the chill of the deep. Oxygen is scarce, especially in certain regions where the water is depleted by the decay of organic matter. Here, survival depends on efficiency. Some fish have large gills and specialized hemoglobin that can extract oxygen from even the thinnest supply. Others, like certain species of squid, can switch to anaerobic metabolism, surviving for short periods without oxygen at all. In the Twilight Zone, every breath is a victory. But perhaps the most remarkable adaptation is the ability to sense the world in ways we can barely imagine. In the absence of light, many creatures rely on other senses, detecting vibrations, changes in water pressure, or the faint electrical fields produced by living things. Some, like the barrel-eye fish, have transparent heads and upward-facing eyes, allowing them to spot the silhouettes of prey above. Others, like the glass octopus, are almost completely transparent, their organs and muscles visible through their skin, a perfect disguise in a world of shadows. The result is a community of life that is as diverse as it is strange. Every creature is a specialist, perfectly tuned to its niche. Some are hunters, some are scavengers, and some are both, switching roles as opportunity demands. The boundaries between predator and prey are blurred and alliances are fleeting. In the Twilight Zone, survival is a game of adaptation, and the rules are always changing. Yet for all their ingenuity, the creatures of the Twilight Zone are vulnerable. Changes in temperature, oxygen, and food supply can have devastating effects. Human activities, overfishing, pollution, and climate change are beginning to reach even these remote depths, threatening the delicate balance that has evolved over millions of years. What happens when this balance is disturbed? What are the consequences for the ocean and for us? In the next section, we will explore the impact of human activity on the Twilight Zone and the urgent need to protect this hidden world. The answers may be more important than you think. The Twilight Zone, for all its remoteness and mystery, is not immune to the touch of humanity. In fact, the very qualities that make it so alluring, its abundance of life, its role in the global carbon cycle, its untapped resources, have drawn the attention of scientists, industries, and policymakers alike. As our technology advances and our appetite for the ocean's riches grows, the Twilight Zone stands at a crossroads, a frontier of discovery, but also a battleground for the future of the sea. For decades, the mesopelagic was considered too deep, too dark, and too difficult to exploit. But recent advances in fishing technology have changed that calculation. Powerful trawlers equipped with deep nets and sophisticated sonar can now reach depths once thought inaccessible. Their target, the vast schools of lanternfish and other mesopelagic species that migrate through the Twilight Zone each night. These fish are rich in protein and omega-3 fatty acids, making them attractive not just for human consumption, but as feed for aquaculture and livestock. The scale of this potential harvest is staggering. Some estimates suggest that the biomass of mesopelagic fish may exceed that of all the world's commercial fisheries combined. For some, this represents a new frontier of opportunity, a way to feed a growing population and relieve pressure on overexploited surface stocks. But for others, it is a cause for alarm. The Twilight Zone is not just a larder, it is a linchpin of the ocean's ecology. The creatures that live here are vital links in the food web, connecting the surface to the deep and supporting predators from tuna to whales. The consequences of large-scale fishing in the Twilight Zone are largely unknown. What happens if we remove billions of lanternfish from the sea? How will it affect the vertical migration, the carbon cycle, and the balance of life in the deep? Scientists warn that we are moving into uncharted territory, with risks that could ripple through the entire ocean. The Twilight Zone is a system finely tuned by evolution, and even small disruptions can have outsized effects. But fishing is not the only threat. Pollution, too, has found its way into the mesopelagic. Microplastics, heavy metals, and chemical contaminants have been detected in the bodies of Twilight Zone creatures, carried down from the surface by currents and marine snow. These pollutants accumulate in the food web, moving from small fish to larger predators and eventually to humans. The deep sea, once thought to be a pristine refuge, is now a repository for the detritus of our civilization. Climate change poses an even greater challenge. As the planet warms, the ocean's layers are shifting. The boundaries of the Twilight Zone are moving, and the delicate balance of temperature, oxygen, and nutrients is being disrupted. In some regions, oxygen levels are dropping, creating dead zones where life struggles to survive. In others, changes in currents and upwelling are altering the flow of food and the timing of the vertical migration. The creatures of the Twilight Zone are resilient, but their ability to adapt has limits. The loss of the Twilight Zone would be a catastrophe, not just for the ocean, but for the planet. The carbon pump that helps regulate the Earth's climate depends on the daily movement of mesopelagic animals. If this process is disrupted, more carbon could remain in the atmosphere, accelerating global warming. The food web, too, would unravel, with consequences for fisheries, marine mammals, and countless other species. Yet there is hope. Scientists around the world are racing to understand the Twilight Zone before it is too late. New technologies, autonomous vehicles, deep-sea cameras, environmental DNA sampling, are revealing the hidden lives of its inhabitants. International agreements like the United Nations efforts to protect biodiversity beyond national jurisdictions are beginning to recognize the importance of the deep sea. Conservationists are calling for precaution, urging that we learn from the mistakes of the past and protect the Twilight Zone before exploitation outpaces understanding. But the greatest hope may lie in the power of knowledge. The more we learn about the Twilight Zone, the more we realize how much is at stake. This is not just a place of danger and darkness. It is a world of wonder, resilience, and connection. The creatures that live here are not just survivors, they are engineers, caretakers, and sentinels of the planet's health. As we stand at the threshold of the Twilight Zone, we face a choice. Will we treat this layer as a resource to be exploited, or as a treasure to be protected? Will we act with caution or with hubris? The answers will shape not just the future of the ocean, but the fate of the Earth itself. In the next section, we will journey deeper into the science of the Twilight Zone, exploring the cutting-edge research that is unlocking its secrets. What new discoveries are being made? How are scientists overcoming the challenges of studying this hidden world? And what mysteries remain unsolved, waiting for the next generation of explorers? The story of the Twilight Zone is far from over, and its most important chapters may still be unwritten. To truly understand the Twilight Zone, scientists have had to become explorers, inventors, and storytellers all at once. The challenges of studying this layer are immense. The crushing pressure, the near-freezing temperatures, and the perpetual darkness make it one of the most inaccessible environments on Earth. Traditional research vessels and scuba divers are limited to the uppermost layers of the ocean, leaving the mesopelagic shrouded in mystery for centuries. But in recent decades, a wave of technological innovation has begun to peel back the curtain, revealing a world more complex and surprising than anyone imagined. The first breakthroughs came with the development of deep-sea submersibles, small, pressurized vehicles capable of descending hundreds or even thousands of meters below the surface. Early pioneers like the bathyscaphe Trieste and the Alvin submersible allowed scientists to glimpse the Twilight Zone firsthand, capturing images and samples that changed our understanding of the deep. Today, remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, have taken exploration even further, able to spend days or weeks at depth, mapping the seafloor, collecting data, and recording the behaviors of elusive creatures. One of the most powerful tools in the modern oceanographer's arsenal is environmental DNA. or eDNA. By collecting water samples from the Twilight Zone and analyzing the genetic material they contain, scientists can identify the presence of hundreds of species, many of which have never been seen or captured. This technique has revealed a staggering diversity of life, from tiny plankton to massive squid, and has shown that the Twilight Zone is far richer and more dynamic than previously thought. Sonar technology has also played a crucial role. By sending sound waves into the depths and measuring the echoes that return, researchers can map the distribution of animals in the water column. The nightly rise and fall of the deep scattering layer, once a mysterious blip on naval sonar screens, is now recognized as the signature of the vertical migration. These acoustic surveys have revealed not just the abundance of life in the Twilight Zone, but also the intricate patterns of movement and interaction that define this ecosystem. But technology is only part of the story. The real breakthroughs have come from the creativity and persistence of the scientists themselves. To study the behavior of Twilight Zone animals, researchers have developed specialized cameras that can operate in total darkness, capturing the faintest glimmers of bioluminescence without disturbing the creatures. Some have built traps and lures that mimic the light patterns of prey, drawing elusive species into view. Others have designed pressure chambers that allow animals to be brought to the surface alive, preserving their delicate bodies for study. These efforts have led to a cascade of discoveries. New species are being described at an unprecedented rate. Strange fish with transparent heads, shrimp that shoot jets of glowing fluid, jellyfish that pulse with rainbow colors. The behaviors of familiar animals, too, are being reimagined. Lanternfish, once thought to be solitary drifters, are now known to form vast schools communicating with flashes of light. Squid engage in complex hunting strategies, coordinating their movements with bursts of bioluminescence. Even the humble copepod, a tiny crustacean, has been found to play a key role in the carbon cycle, ferrying organic matter from the surface to the deep. Yet, for every question answered, new mysteries arise. How do animals navigate in the darkness, finding food and mates in a world without landmarks? What triggers the timing of the vertical migration, and how do creatures sense the subtle changes in light and temperature that signal the approach of night? How do the physical and chemical properties of the Twilight Zone shape the evolution of its inhabitants? Each discovery opens new avenues of inquiry, and the sense of wonder only deepens. The study of the Twilight Zone is not just an academic pursuit. It has real-world implications for conservation, climate science, and even human health. By understanding the role of mesopelagic animals in the carbon cycle, scientists can refine models of global warming and predict how the ocean will respond to future changes. By studying the unique adaptations of deep-sea creatures, researchers are developing new materials, medicines, and technologies. Bioluminescent proteins that light up cancer cells, enzymes that function under extreme conditions, and more. But perhaps the greatest impact is on our sense of connection to the planet. The Twilight Zone is a reminder that the world is far larger, stranger, and more interconnected than we often realize. The fate of this hidden layer is tied to our own, and the choices we make about fishing, pollution, and climate will shape its future for generations to come. As we look to the future, the possibilities are as vast as the ocean itself. New missions are being planned, new technologies are on the horizon, and a new generation of explorers is preparing to dive into the unknown. The Twilight Zone is not just a frontier of science. It is a frontier of imagination, a place where the boundaries of knowledge are constantly being pushed. But for all our progress, the Twilight Zone remains a place of secrets. What lies in the deepest, darkest corners? What stories have yet to be told? In the next section, we will journey into the heart of the mesopelagic, following the path of a single drop of water as it descends through the layers, encountering the wonders and dangers of the ocean's most enigmatic realm. The journey is far from over, and the greatest discoveries may still be ahead. Imagine a single drop of seawater, born at the surface in the warmth of the sun, beginning its slow descent into the unknown. At first it is surrounded by life and light, plankton drifting, fish darting, the world above a shimmering mosaic of color and movement. But as the drop sinks, the world changes. The light dims, the water cools, and the familiar fades away. This is the journey into the Twilight Zone, a passage through layers of transformation, each one stranger than the last. At 100 meters, The drop is still within the reach of sunlight. Here the ocean is alive with activity. Schools of fish flash silver in the blue, predators hunt in the open, and the dance of life is visible in every direction. But the drop continues downward, pulled by gravity and the slow churn of the currents. By 200 meters, the colors have faded to blue and gray. The surface is a distant memory, and the creatures that remain are different. Larger eyes, paler bodies, movement slower and more deliberate. As the drop enters the upper Twilight Zone, it passes through a world of shadows. Here the rules of survival are written in light and darkness. The hatchetfish glides by, its body a living mirror reflecting the faint glow from above. Lanternfish drift in schools, their photophores blinking in silent conversation. A squid jets past, leaving a trail of glowing ink, a brief, brilliant flash in the gloom. The drop is now part of a world where every movement is calculated, every adaptation a response to the relentless pressure of predation and scarcity. Deeper still, at 400 meters the drop encounters the heart of the mesopelagic. The water is cold, the pressure immense, and the darkness nearly complete. Here the creatures are stranger still. The barrel-eye fish hovers motionless, its transparent head revealing eyes that point upward, searching for the silhouettes of prey. The dragonfish lurks in the shadows, its body lined with glowing organs, its jaws ready to snap shut on anything that strays too close. The bristlemouth, tiny but fierce, moves in coordinated bursts, its school a living wave of light and motion. The drop drifts past a jellyfish, its bell pulsing with rainbow colors. Tiny shrimp scatter at its approach, their bodies nearly invisible in the darkness. A viperfish darts from the shadows, its teeth gleaming, its body a blur of motion. The drop is now part of a world where life is both fragile and fierce, where every creature is both hunter and hunted, and where the struggle for survival is played out in silence and shadow. At 600 meters, the drop passes through a region of transition. The density of life begins to thin, and the creatures that remain are even more specialized. Some are gelatinous, their bodies little more than water and protein, perfectly adapted to the crushing pressure. Others are armored, their scales and shells providing protection against the jaws of predators. The drop is now part of a world where energy is precious, and every adaptation is a matter of life and death. As the drop continues its descent, it encounters the lower Twilight Zone. Here, at 800 meters and beyond, the darkness is absolute. The only light comes from the creatures themselves, flashes, glows, and pulses that signal, lure, or warn. The drop drifts past a siphonophore, its body stretching for meters, its tentacles trailing like a living net. A glass octopus floats by, its organs visible through its transparent skin, a ghost in the gloom. The drop is now part of a world where the boundaries between life and environment blur, where the very fabric of existence is shaped by the demands of the deep. At 1,000 meters, the drop reaches the edge of the abyss. Here, the Twilight Zone gives way to the Midnight Zone, the bathypelagic, where darkness is total and life is even more rare. But the journey of the drop is not over. It may be carried by currents into the deep, or it may rise again, caught in the upwelling that brings nutrients back to the surface. Along the way, it will encounter the remains of life from above, marine snow drifting down, carrying carbon and nutrients to the depths. It may become part of a food web, consumed by a copepod, a fish, or a squid, and its journey will continue in the body of another. This journey, repeated billions of times every day, is the engine that drives the ocean's cycles. It connects the surface to the deep, the living to the dead, the present to the past. Every drop of water, every particle of marine snow, every flash of bioluminescence is part of a story that is as old as the sea itself. But what happens when this journey is interrupted? What are the consequences when pollution, overfishing, or climate change disrupt the delicate balance of the Twilight Zone? In the next section, we will explore the threats facing this hidden world and the efforts being made to protect it. The journey of a single drop is a microcosm of the ocean's fate, and the choices we make will determine whether its story continues or comes to an end. The Twilight Zone, for all its resilience and adaptability, is not invulnerable. The threats it faces are as varied as they are insidious, creeping in from the surface and from the farthest reaches of human activity. Pollution, overfishing, and climate change are not just distant headlines. They are daily realities for the creatures that call this shadowy realm home. The journey of a single drop of water, once a symbol of the ocean's endless cycles, is now a reminder of how fragile those cycles have become. Pollution is perhaps the most pervasive threat. Microplastics, invisible to the naked eye, drift down from the surface carried by currents and marine snow. These tiny fragments are ingested by plankton, fish, and other animals, accumulating in their bodies and moving up the food chain. Heavy metals and chemical contaminants, byproducts of industry and agriculture, follow the same path. The Twilight Zone, once thought to be a pristine refuge, is now a repository for the world's waste. Scientists have found plastic fibers in the stomachs of lanternfish, mercury in the tissues of squid, and persistent organic pollutants in the bodies of deep-sea shrimp. The consequences are still being unraveled, but the evidence is clear. Pollution is changing the very fabric of life, and the mesopelagic overfishing is another growing concern. As surface stocks decline, commercial fisheries are turning their attention to the vast, untapped resources of the Twilight Zone. Lanternfish, bristlemouths, and other mesopelagic species are being targeted for use as animal feed, fish oil, and even human food. The scale of these fisheries is staggering. Some estimates suggest that the biomass of mesopelagic fish could be 10 times greater than all the world's surface fisheries combined. But the consequences of large-scale exploitation are unknown. These fish are not just a resource. They are a keystone of the ocean's food web, supporting predators from tuna to whales and driving the vertical migration that powers the carbon pump. Removing them could have cascading effects, disrupting the balance of life in the deep and altering the chemistry of the entire ocean. Climate change, too, is reshaping the Twilight Zone in ways both subtle and profound. As the planet warms, the ocean's layers are shifting, the boundaries of the mesopelagic are moving, and the delicate gradients of temperature, oxygen, and nutrients are being disturbed. In some regions, oxygen levels are dropping, creating hypoxic dead zones where life struggles to survive. In others, changes in currents and upwelling are altering the flow of food and the timing of the vertical migration. The creatures of the Twilight Zone are resilient, but their ability to adapt has limits. Some may move to new depths, others may disappear altogether, and the consequences for the ocean and for us are still unfolding. But the threats to the Twilight Zone are not just environmental, they are also political and economic. The deep sea is a frontier, a place where national boundaries blur and the rules of ownership are unclear. As countries and corporations race to exploit the resources of the mesopelagic, questions of governance, equity, and responsibility come to the fore. Who owns the Twilight Zone? Who decides how it is used, and who benefits from its riches? These are questions with no easy answers, but they are central to the future of the ocean. In response to these challenges, a growing movement is emerging. Scientists, conservationists, and policymakers working together to protect the Twilight Zone before it is too late. International agreements, like the United Nations efforts to safeguard biodiversity beyond national jurisdictions, are beginning to recognize the importance of the deep sea. Marine protected areas are being established, fishing quotas are being debated, and new technologies are being developed to monitor and manage the health of the mesopelagic. But perhaps the most powerful force for change is knowledge. The more we learn about the Twilight Zone, the more we realize how much is at stake. This is not just a place of darkness and danger. It is a world of wonder, resilience, and connection. The creatures that live here are not just survivors, they are engineers, caretakers, and sentinels of the planet's health. Their fate is tied to our own, and the choices we make will shape the future of the ocean for generations to come. As we confront the threats facing the Twilight Zone, we are also confronted with a choice. Will we act with caution, humility, and foresight, or will we repeat the mistakes of the past, exploiting the deep before we understand its value? The answer will determine not just the fate of the mesopelagic, but the fate of the planet itself. In the next section, we will explore the efforts being made to protect the Twilight Zone, from cutting-edge research to international cooperation. What does it take to safeguard a world we can barely see? What lessons can we learn from the successes and failures of conservation in other parts of the ocean? And what role can each of us play in ensuring that the secrets of the Twilight Zone are preserved for future generations? The story of the ocean's most dangerous layer is still being written, and its ending is up to us. Protecting the Twilight Zone is a challenge unlike any other in ocean conservation. Its very nature, remote, dark, and largely unexplored, makes it difficult to monitor, regulate, or even fully understand. Yet as the threats mount, so too does the urgency to act. Around the world, scientists, conservationists, and policymakers are racing against time, working to safeguard this hidden realm before its secrets are lost to exploitation and neglect. One of the first steps in protecting the Twilight Zone is simply to know what is there. This is no small task. The mesopelagic is vast, stretching across every ocean and covering more than 1 billion cubic kilometers of water. Its inhabitants are elusive, many of them never coming close to the surface. To overcome these challenges, researchers are deploying a new generation of tools, autonomous underwater vehicles that can patrol the depths for weeks at a time, environmental DNA samplers that reveal the presence of species from a single drop of water, and deep-sea cameras that capture the lives of creatures in their natural habitat without disturbing them. These technologies are revolutionizing our understanding of the Twilight Zone. They are revealing not just the diversity of life, but also the intricate web of relationships that binds the ecosystem together. Scientists are discovering new species at an unprecedented rate. Strange fish with transparent heads, jellyfish that pulse with rainbow colors, and shrimp that shoot jets of glowing fluid. Each discovery is a reminder of how little we know and how much there is still to learn. But knowledge alone is not enough. To protect the Twilight Zone, we must also change the way we manage the ocean. This means moving beyond the old model of out of sight, out of mind, and recognizing that the health of the deep sea is inseparable from the health of the planet. It means setting limits on fishing, pollution, and resource extraction, even in places that seem distant and untouched. It means creating marine protected areas that include not just the surface, but the full depth of the water column, safeguarding the vertical migrations that drive the ocean's cycles. International cooperation is essential. The Twilight Zone does not respect national boundaries. Its currents and creatures move freely across the globe. Efforts like the United Nations negotiations on biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction are a step in the right direction, aiming to create a framework for managing the high seas and protecting the deep. Regional agreements, too, are beginning to address the unique challenges of the mesopelagic, setting quotas for fishing and establishing protocols for monitoring and enforcement. But policy is only part of the solution. Conservation also depends on public awareness and engagement. The Twilight Zone may be out of sight, but it cannot be out of mind. Through documentaries, citizen science projects, and educational campaigns, the story of the ocean's most dangerous layer is reaching new audiences. People are learning that the fate of the deep is tied to their own, and that their choices, what they eat, how they vote, what they support, can make a difference. Some of the most inspiring efforts are coming from unexpected places. In Norway, for example, fishermen and scientists are working together to study the impact of mesopelagic fisheries, sharing data, and developing best practices to minimize harm. In the Pacific, island nations are leading the way in establishing large marine reserves, protecting not just coral reefs and surface waters, but the deep layers below. Around the world, young people are raising their voices, demanding action to protect the ocean for future generations. Yet the challenges remain immense. Enforcement is difficult in the vastness of the open ocean, and illegal fishing and pollution continue to threaten the Twilight Zone. Climate change is an ever-present danger, altering the chemistry and currents of the sea in ways we are only beginning to understand. The pace of technological change, too, is a double-edged sword, opening new frontiers for exploration but also for exploitation. Still, there is reason for hope. The story of ocean conservation is filled with examples of resilience and recovery. Whales once hunted to the brink of extinction are returning to the world's oceans. Coral reefs, though threatened, are being restored through innovative science and community action. The lesson is clear. When we act with knowledge, humility, and determination, we can make a difference, even in the most remote and mysterious corners of the planet. As we look to the future, the question is not whether we can protect the Twilight Zone, but whether we will choose to do so. The tools are in our hands, the knowledge is growing, and the stakes could not be higher. The ocean's most dangerous layer is also one of its most vital, a linchpin of the planet's health and a wellspring of wonder and discovery. In the next section, we will return to the heart of the Twilight Zone, exploring the daily lives of its inhabitants. What does it mean to survive in a world of perpetual dusk? How do creatures navigate the dangers and opportunities of the mesopelagic? And what lessons can we learn from their resilience and ingenuity? The answers may hold the key not just to the future of the ocean, but to our own survival in a changing world. In the perpetual dusk of the Twilight Zone, every day is a test of survival. The creatures that inhabit this realm live on the edge, balancing the constant threats of predation, starvation, and the harshness of their environment. Yet in this world of shadows, life flourishes in ways that defy imagination. The daily routines of the Twilight Zone's inhabitants are a testament to the power of adaptation, cooperation, and resilience. As night falls at the surface, the great vertical migration begins. Billions of lanternfish, bristlemouths, and other mesopelagic animals ascend toward the upper layers, drawn by the promise of food. The surface waters, rich in plankton and other nutrients, offer a brief window of abundance, but with opportunity comes danger. Predators from above, tuna, dolphins, and squid, patrol the darkness, their senses finely tuned to detect the faintest movement. For the migrating fish, every ascent is a gamble, a race against time and hunger. The journey is not a solitary one. Many species travel in schools, their synchronized movements creating a living shield against predators. The lanternfish, for example, use coordinated flashes of bioluminescence to communicate and confuse would-be attackers. By moving as one, they increase their chances of survival, turning the darkness into an ally rather than an enemy. This collective behavior is mirrored throughout the Twilight Zone, where cooperation often means the difference between life and death. For the predators, the migration is a feast. Viperfish and dragonfish lie in ambush, their bodies camouflaged against the gloom. With lightning speed, they strike at passing prey, their jaws unhinging to swallow victims whole. Squid use bursts of jet propulsion and clouds of ink to surprise and capture their targets. Even the smallest creatures like copepods and krill are both hunters and hunted, feeding on marine snow while evading the jaws of larger animals. But not all life in the Twilight Zone is defined by violence. Many creatures have evolved strategies to avoid confrontation altogether. The glass squid, nearly invisible in the water, drifts with the currents, its body refracting what little light remains. The hatchet fish, with its counter-illuminating photophores, erases its shadow and disappears into the background. Some animals, like the barrel-eye fish, have developed extraordinary senses, transparent heads and upward-facing eyes that allow them to spot prey and predators, alike in the faintest glimmer of light. The daily cycle of ascent and descent is more than just a search for food. It is a dance of energy and survival. As dawn approaches, the first hints of sunlight filter down, and the animals begin their retreat. The surface empties and the Twilight Zone fills once more with life. Here, in the safety of the deep, the creatures rest, digest, and prepare for the next night's journey. The cycle is relentless, a rhythm as old as the ocean itself. Within this cycle, every adaptation is a response to the unique challenges of the mesopelagic. The pressure is immense, the temperature near freezing, and oxygen scarce. To survive, animals have developed specialized enzymes, flexible cell membranes, and efficient respiratory systems. Some can slow their metabolism to conserve energy, while others rely on bursts of activity to capture fleeting opportunities. The result is a community of life that is both fragile and fierce, perfectly tuned to the demands of the deep. Yet, for all their ingenuity, the creatures of the Twilight Zone are vulnerable to change. A shift in temperature, a drop in oxygen, or a disruption in the flow of food can have cascading effects. The balance is delicate and the margin for error is small. In this world, resilience is not just a trait, it is a necessity. The daily lives of Twilight Zone inhabitants offer lessons for us all. In the face of uncertainty and danger, they adapt, cooperate, and persist. They find opportunity in adversity and strength in numbers. Their survival depends not on dominance but on balance, on the ability to navigate a world where every advantage is fleeting, and every challenge is met with innovation. As we look to the future, the story of the Twilight Zone is a reminder of the power of resilience. The creatures that thrive here have endured for millions of years, weathering changes in climate, chemistry, and competition. Their strategies are a blueprint for survival in a world of constant change, a lesson that is more relevant now than ever before. But what of the mysteries that remain? What secrets are still hidden in the shadows, waiting to be discovered? In the next section, we will delve into the unknown, exploring the unanswered questions that continue to drive scientists and explorers into the depths. What new species await discovery? What ancient stories are written in the sediments of the deep? And what role will the Twilight Zone play in the future of our planet? The journey continues, and the greatest revelations may still lie ahead. The Twilight Zone is a realm defined by its mysteries. For every discovery made, a dozen new questions emerge, each more tantalizing than the last. Scientists who venture into this dusky world are not just observers. They are detectives piecing together clues from fleeting glimpses, scattered data, and the faintest traces of life. The unknown is not a barrier here. It is an invitation, a call to curiosity that has driven generations of explorers to push the boundaries of what is possible. One of the greatest mysteries of the Twilight Zone is the sheer diversity of life it harbors. Despite the challenges of darkness, pressure, and scarcity, the mesopelagic is home to an astonishing array of species, many of which have never been seen alive by human eyes. Each new expedition brings reports of strange and wonderful creatures: fish with glowing lures, jellyfish that pulse with electric blue, shrimp that shoot jets of light, and octopuses as transparent as glass. Some of these animals are so alien in appearance and behavior that they seem to belong to another world entirely. The process of discovering and cataloging these species is painstaking. Many are known only from fragments, an odd scale, a single photophore, a snippet of DNA. Others are glimpsed only briefly by deep-sea cameras, their images blurred by the darkness and the currents. Yet with each new find, the picture of the Twilight Zone grows richer and more complex. Scientists estimate that as much as 90% of the species in the mesopelagic remain undescribed, their stories waiting to be told. But it is not just the creatures themselves that intrigue researchers. The behaviors and interactions of Twilight Zone animals are a source of endless fascination. How do lanternfish coordinate their nightly migrations across vast distances? What signals do squid use to communicate in the dark? How do predators like the viperfish and dragonfish locate prey in a world without light? The answers to these questions are slowly emerging, thanks to advances in technology and the persistence of those who seek them. One of the most surprising discoveries in recent years is the complexity of the Twilight Zone's food web. Far from being a simple chain of predator and prey, the mesopelagic is a network of relationships, with energy and nutrients flowing in unexpected ways. Some animals are both hunters and scavengers, switching roles as opportunity demands. Others form symbiotic partnerships, sharing resources and protection. The vertical migration itself is a marvel of coordination, with billions of animals moving in synchrony, their movements shaping the chemistry and physics of the entire ocean. The sediments of the Twilight Zone hold mysteries of their own. Layer upon layer, they record the history of the ocean, traces of ancient life, shifts in climate, and the fingerprints of past catastrophes. By studying these sediments, scientists can reconstruct the story of the sea, tracing the rise and fall of species, the ebb and flow of nutrients, and the impact of events like volcanic eruptions and asteroid strikes. In this way, the Twilight Zone is not just a window into the present, but a time capsule of the Earth's past. Yet for all that has been learned, the greatest mysteries may still lie ahead. What new forms of life await discovery in the deepest, darkest corners? What secrets are encoded in the DNA of Twilight Zone creatures, waiting to be unlocked by future generations? How will this hidden world respond to the changes sweeping across the planet, and what role will it play in the story of life on Earth? The pursuit of these answers is more than an academic exercise. It is a journey of wonder, driven by the same curiosity that led our ancestors to cross oceans and climb mountains. The Twilight Zone is a reminder that the world is still full of unknowns, and that the spirit of exploration is alive and well. Each new discovery is a testament to the power of human ingenuity, and a promise that the story of the ocean is far from finished. As we continue our journey, we are left with a sense of awe and a sense of responsibility. The secrets of the Twilight Zone are not just scientific curiosities. They are keys to understanding the health of the planet, the resilience of life, and the limits of our own knowledge. In the next section, we will explore how the lessons of the mesopelagic are shaping the future of science, technology, and conservation. What can we learn from the adaptations of deep-sea creatures? How are their unique abilities inspiring new innovations? And how can the mysteries of the Twilight Zone help us build a more sustainable relationship with the ocean? The answers may change not just what we know, but how we live. The Twilight Zone is not just a source of scientific wonder, it is a wellspring of inspiration for innovation and progress. The unique adaptations of its inhabitants, honed over millions of years in the harshest of environments, are now guiding breakthroughs in fields as diverse as medicine, engineering, and environmental science. As researchers unlock the secrets of the mesopelagic, they are finding that the solutions to some of humanity's greatest challenges may lie hidden in the darkness below. One of the most remarkable examples comes from the study of bioluminescence. The ability of Twilight Zone creatures to produce light in total darkness has fascinated scientists for generations. Today, the proteins and enzymes responsible for this glow are being harnessed in laboratories around the world. Green fluorescent protein, first isolated from a jellyfish, has revolutionized biomedical research, allowing scientists to track the movement of cells, visualize gene expression, and even illuminate cancerous tumors. Other bioluminescent compounds are being developed as markers for disease, tools for imaging, and even as environmentally friendly alternatives to traditional lighting. The structural adaptations of deep-sea animals are also inspiring new materials and technologies. The flexible, pressure-resistant proteins found in the bodies of mesopelagic fish are being studied for use in everything from deep-diving submarines to medical implants. The transparent tissues of the glass octopus and barrel-life fish are providing clues for the development of advanced optics and stealth materials. Even the unique enzymes that allow Twilight Zone creatures to function at near-freezing temperatures are being explored for industrial applications, from food processing to biofuels. But the lessons of the Twilight Zone go beyond technology. The resilience and adaptability of its inhabitants offer a blueprint for survival in a changing world. In the face of scarcity, these creatures have learned to make the most of every resource, to cooperate when necessary, and to innovate in the face of adversity. Their strategies, flexibility, efficiency, and balance are increasingly relevant as humanity grapples with the challenges of climate change, resource depletion, and environmental degradation. The study of the Twilight Zone is also reshaping our understanding of the ocean's role in the global climate system. The vertical migration of mesopelagic animals, once seen as a curiosity, is now recognized as a critical component of the carbon cycle. By transporting organic matter from the surface to the deep, these creatures help sequester carbon and regulate the Earth's temperature. Understanding this process is essential for predicting the impacts of climate change and for developing strategies to mitigate its effects. Conservationists are taking note. The recognition that the Twilight Zone is not just a reservoir of biodiversity, but a linchpin of planetary health, is driving new efforts to protect it. Marine protected areas are being designed to include the full depth of the water column, safeguarding the vertical migrations that sustain the ocean's cycles. Policies are being crafted to limit fishing, reduce pollution, and monitor the health of the mesopelagic. International cooperation is growing, as countries recognize that the fate of the deep sea is a shared responsibility. Education and outreach are playing a crucial role in this transformation. Documentaries, virtual reality experiences, and citizen science projects are bringing the wonders of the Twilight Zone to new audiences. Students are learning about the importance of the mesopelagic in classrooms and online, sparking a new generation of ocean advocates. The story of the Twilight Zone is becoming a rallying point for conservation, a symbol of the beauty and fragility of the natural world. Yet, for all the progress, challenges remain. The pace of discovery is often outstripped by the pace of exploitation. The deep sea is still vulnerable to overfishing, mining, and pollution, and the legal frameworks needed to protect it are still evolving. The mysteries of the Twilight Zone are a reminder that our knowledge is incomplete, and that humility must guide our actions. As we look to the future, the lessons of the Twilight Zone are clear. Innovation and adaptation are the keys to survival, not just for the creatures of the deep but for humanity as well. By learning from the resilience of the mesopelagic, we can develop new technologies, build more sustainable societies, and forge a deeper connection with the natural world. In the next section, we will explore the cultural and philosophical impact of the Twilight Zone. How has this hidden world shaped our myths, our art, and our sense of wonder? What does it mean to live on a planet where so much remains unknown? And how can the mysteries of the ocean inspire us to seek out new frontiers both within and beyond ourselves? The journey into the Twilight Zone is not just a scientific adventure, it is a voyage of the human spirit, and its greatest discoveries may be yet to come. The Twilight Zone has always been more than a scientific curiosity. It is a wellspring of myth, imagination, and awe. Long before scientists sent submersibles into the deep, storytellers and artists peered into the ocean's shadows and found inspiration. The mysteries of the mesopelagic have shaped our collective consciousness, fueling legends of sea monsters, lost worlds, and the unknown that lies just beyond the reach of light. In ancient times, sailors spoke of creatures that glowed in the night, of ghostly lights flickering beneath their ships, and of monstrous beings that lurked in the depths. These tales, passed down through generations, were rooted in real phenomena: bioluminescent plankton lighting up the wake, strange fish caught in nets, and the eerie silence of the open sea. The Twilight Zone, invisible to the eye but ever present in the imagination, became a canvas for our deepest fears and wildest dreams. Artists, too, have been drawn to the allure of the deep. From the swirling tentacles of Hokusai's woodblock prints to the surreal seascapes of contemporary painters, the ocean's middle layer has inspired works that capture both its beauty and its menace. Writers have set their stories in the mesopelagic, weaving tales of adventure, mystery, and transformation. The Twilight Zone is a place where the boundaries between reality and fantasy blur, where the rules of the surface no longer apply, and where anything seems possible. This fascination is not just a relic of the past. Today, the mysteries of the Twilight Zone continue to captivate audiences around the world. Documentaries bring the wonders of the deep into our living rooms, revealing creatures and behaviors that defy belief. Virtual reality experiences allow us to descend into the mesopelagic, to drift among glowing fish and swirling clouds of marine snow. Artists and musicians draw on the rhythms and colors of the deep, creating works that evoke the sense of wonder and possibility that the Twilight Zone inspires. But the cultural impact of the Twilight Zone goes deeper still. It challenges us to confront the limits of our knowledge, to embrace uncertainty, and to find meaning in the unknown. In a world that often values certainty and control, the mesopelagic is a reminder that mystery is not something to be feared, but something to be cherished. The unknown is a source of creativity, a catalyst for discovery, and a wellspring of hope. Philosophers have long pondered the significance of the ocean's depths. The Twilight Zone, with its perpetual dusk and hidden life, is a metaphor for the human condition, a place of transition, ambiguity, and transformation. It is a realm where light and darkness coexist, where survival depends on adaptation, and where the boundaries between self and environment are constantly shifting. In this sense, the journey into the Twilight Zone is not just a descent into the ocean, but a journey into the depths of our own minds and souls. The lessons of the Twilight Zone are as relevant to our inner lives as they are to the world outside. In the face of uncertainty, we are called to adapt, to cooperate, and to persist. In the presence of mystery, we are invited to wonder, to explore, and to create. The resilience of the creatures that thrive in the mesopelagic is a testament to the power of life to endure, even in the harshest of environments. Their strategies, flexibility, innovation, and balance are guides for navigating the challenges of our own lives. As we continue to explore the Twilight Zone, we are reminded that the greatest discoveries often lie just beyond the edge of what we know. The ocean's most dangerous layer is also its most promising, a place where the boundaries of science, art, and philosophy converge. The mysteries of the mesopelagic are not just puzzles to be solved, but invitations to imagine, to dream, and to seek out new frontiers. In the next section, we will look to the future, exploring the role of the Twilight Zone in the unfolding story of our planet. How will this hidden world respond to the changes sweeping across the globe? What new challenges and opportunities will arise as we deepen our understanding of the mesopelagic? And what responsibilities do we bear as stewards of this remarkable realm? The journey is far from over, and the next chapter is ours to write. The future of the Twilight Zone is being shaped right now, in laboratories, boardrooms, and on the decks of research vessels around the world. As our understanding of this mysterious layer deepens, so too does our awareness of its vulnerability and its value. The choices we make in the coming years will determine not only the fate of the mesopelagic, but the health of the entire ocean and, by extension, the planet itself. One of the most pressing questions is how the Twilight Zone will respond to the accelerating pace of climate change. Already scientists are observing shifts in the boundaries of the mesopelagic, as warming waters push species to new depths and latitudes. Some animals are adapting, altering their migration patterns or changing their diets. Others are struggling to survive, caught between the need for oxygen and the search for food. The delicate balance that has sustained life in the Twilight Zone for millions of years is being tested as never before. These changes have ripple effects throughout the ocean. The vertical migration of mesopelagic animals, which plays a crucial role in the carbon cycle, may be disrupted as species move or decline. The loss of key predators or prey can cascade through the food web, affecting everything from surface fisheries to deep-sea ecosystems. Even the chemistry of the ocean is at stake, as shifts in temperature and oxygen alter the rates of decomposition, nutrient cycling, and carbon sequestration. But the future is not only a story of loss. It is also a story of resilience and adaptation. The creatures of the Twilight Zone have survived ice ages, mass extinctions, and dramatic shifts in the Earth's climate. Their ability to innovate, to cooperate, and to persist in the face of adversity is a source of hope and a model for our own response to change. By studying their strategies, we can learn how to build more resilient societies capable of weathering the storms ahead. Technology will play a central role in this effort. Advances in remote sensing, artificial intelligence, and environmental monitoring are making it possible to track changes in the Twilight Zone in real time. Autonomous vehicles can patrol the depths for months, collecting data on temperature, oxygen, and biodiversity. Machine learning algorithms can analyze vast data sets, revealing patterns and trends that would be invisible to the human eye. These tools are not just expanding our knowledge. They are empowering us to act, to anticipate problems, and to design solutions before crises emerge. International cooperation will be equally important. The Twilight Zone is a global commons, shared by all nations and governed by the actions of many. Efforts to protect it will require collaboration across borders, disciplines, and sectors. Treaties and agreements must be strengthened, enforcement improved, and resources shared. The lessons of the past are clear. When we work together, we can achieve remarkable things. The recovery of whale populations, the restoration of coral reefs, and the creation of vast marine reserves are all testaments to the power of collective action. Education and public engagement will shape the future as well. The more people know about the Twilight Zone, the more likely they are to care and to act. Schools, museums, and media have a vital role to play in telling the story of the mesopelagic, inspiring curiosity and stewardship in the next generation. Citizen science projects where ordinary people contribute to research and monitoring are breaking down the barriers between experts and the public, making conservation a shared endeavor. Yet, for all our progress, humility is essential. The Twilight Zone remains a place of mystery, its secrets only partially revealed. Our knowledge is growing, but it is still dwarfed by the vastness of the unknown. As we move forward, we must remember that every action has consequences, and that the balance of the ocean is delicate. The creatures of the mesopelagic have much to teach us, not just about survival, but about respect, restraint, and the value of the unseen. The future of the Twilight Zone is not predetermined. It will be shaped by the choices we make, the values we hold, and the vision we bring to the task of stewardship. It is a story of challenge and opportunity, of risk and reward. Above all, it is a story of connection between the surface and the deep, between science and society, and between the present and the generations yet to come. In the next section, we will return to the heart of the Twilight Zone, reflecting on the journey we have taken and the lessons we have learned. What does it mean to explore a world of perpetual dusk? How has our understanding of the mesopelagic changed, and what questions remain unanswered? As we approach the end of our voyage, we are reminded that the greatest discoveries are often those that lead us to ask new questions, to seek new horizons, and to imagine new possibilities. As our journey through the Twilight Zone nears its end, it is time to pause and reflect on the path we have traveled. We began at the surface, where sunlight reigns and life is familiar, and descended into a world of perpetual dusk, a realm where the rules of survival are rewritten, and every creature is a marvel of adaptation. Along the way, we have encountered wonders and dangers, mysteries and revelations, and a tapestry of life more intricate than any found on land. The Twilight Zone is a place of contrasts. It is both a refuge and a battleground, a sanctuary for the world's most abundant fish and a hunting ground for predators that never see the sun. It is a layer of transition, where light fades and darkness grows, where the boundaries between day and night, predator and prey are blurred. In this world, survival is a daily negotiation, a dance of risk and reward that plays out in silence and shadow. We have seen how the creatures of the mesopelagic have mastered the art of adaptation, from the glowing lures of the anglerfish to the mirrored bodies of the hatchetfish, from the synchronized migrations of lanternfish to the stealthy drift of the glass squid. Every strategy is a response to the unique challenges of the deep. These adaptations are not just curiosities, they are lessons in resilience, innovation, and the power of life to persist against the odds. We have explored the science that is unlocking the secrets of the Twilight Zone. Advances in technology have opened new windows into the deep, revealing a world that is richer and more dynamic than anyone imagined. Environmental DNA, deep-sea cameras, and autonomous vehicles are transforming our understanding of the mesopelagic, allowing us to map its inhabitants, track their movements, and study their behaviors in unprecedented detail. Each discovery is a reminder of how much remains unknown, and how much there is still to learn. We have confronted the threats facing the Twilight Zone: pollution, overfishing, climate change, and the challenges of governance and stewardship. These dangers are real and urgent, but they are not insurmountable. The story of the mesopelagic is not just one of vulnerability, but of resilience and hope. Around the world, scientists, policymakers, and citizens are working together to protect this hidden realm, to ensure that its wonders endure for generations to come. We have also delved into the cultural and philosophical significance of the Twilight Zone. This is a place that has inspired myths and legends, art and music, science and philosophy. It is a symbol of the unknown, a reminder that mystery is not something to be feared but something to be embraced. The journey into the mesopelagic is a journey into the heart of the human spirit, a voyage of curiosity, creativity, and connection. Yet for all we have learned, the Twilight Zone remains a frontier. Its secrets are not easily won, and its mysteries are far from exhausted. Every new expedition, every new question, leads us deeper into the unknown. The ocean's most dangerous layer is also its most promising, a place where the boundaries of knowledge are constantly being pushed, and where the next great discovery may be just a dive away. As we reflect on our journey, we are reminded that exploration is not just about finding answers. It is about asking better questions. The Twilight Zone challenges us to look beyond the surface, to seek out the hidden connections that bind the world together, and to recognize the value of what we cannot see. It invites us to imagine new possibilities, to dream of new horizons, and to embrace the unknown with courage and humility. The lessons of the Twilight Zone are as relevant on land as they are in the sea. In a world of uncertainty and change, resilience, cooperation, and innovation are the keys to survival. The creatures of the mesopelagic have thrived for millions of years by adapting to adversity, by finding opportunity in scarcity, and by working together in the face of danger. Their example is a guide for us all, as we navigate the challenges of our own time. As our voyage draws to a close, we are left with a sense of wonder and a sense of responsibility. The Twilight Zone is not just a distant alien world. It is a vital part of the planet we call home. Its fate is tied to our own, and the choices we make will shape its future and ours for generations to come. In the next section, we will look outward once more, considering the role of the Twilight Zone in the broader story of life on Earth. How does this hidden layer connect to the rest of the biosphere? What lessons can it teach us about the resilience of life, the fragility of ecosystems, and the power of connection? And how can the mysteries of the mesopelagic inspire us to care for the world we share? The journey is not over, it is only just beginning. The Twilight Zone is not an isolated world, sealed off from the rest of the planet. It is a vital link in the chain of life, connecting the sunlit surface to the abyssal depths, the smallest plankton to the largest whales, and the present to the ancient past. Its influence extends far beyond its shadowy boundaries, shaping the health of the ocean and the balance of the entire biosphere. At the heart of this connection is the vertical migration, a daily movement of billions of animals that transports energy, nutrients, and carbon between layers. When lanternfish, squid, and other mesopelagic creatures rise to feed at night and retreat to the depths by day, they are not just surviving, they are driving the cycles that sustain life in the sea. Their movements help regulate the distribution of nutrients, fueling blooms of plankton at the surface and supporting fisheries that feed millions of people. Their bodies, when they die, become part of the marine snow that drifts down to the deep, nourishing the strange and wonderful creatures of the abyss. The Twilight Zone also plays a crucial role in the global carbon cycle. By consuming organic matter at the surface and transporting it to the deep, mesopelagic animals help sequester carbon, keeping it out of the atmosphere, and slowing the pace of climate change. This biological pump is one of the planet's most effective tools for regulating temperature and maintaining the delicate balance of the Earth's climate. Without the Twilight Zone, the world would be a very different place. Warmer, less productive, and far less hospitable to life. But the connections do not end there. The Twilight Zone is a crossroads for species that move between layers, from whales that dive to hunt squid, to seabirds that plunge into the depths in search of fish. It is a nursery for the young of many surface-dwelling species, a refuge for animals escaping predators, and a corridor for the exchange of genes and energy across vast distances. The health of the mesopelagic is inseparable from the health of the entire ocean, and its fate is tied to the fate of countless other ecosystems. The lessons of the Twilight Zone are echoed throughout the natural world. Resilience, cooperation, and adaptation are the keys to survival, not just in the deep, but in every corner of the biosphere. The creatures of the mesopelagic have thrived by finding balance, by making the most of scarce resources, by working together in the face of danger, and by evolving new strategies in response to changing conditions. Their example is a reminder that the strength of an ecosystem lies in its diversity, its flexibility, and its capacity for renewal. These lessons are more important now than ever, as the planet faces unprecedented challenges: climate change, habitat loss, pollution, and overexploitation. The need for resilience and connection has never been greater. The Twilight Zone is a model for how life can endure, adapt, and flourish in the face of adversity. It is a source of hope, a wellspring of inspiration, and a call to action for all who care about the future of the Earth. The connections forged in the Twilight Zone are not just ecological, they are also cultural and spiritual. For centuries, the mysteries of the deep have inspired myths, legends, and works of art that celebrate the beauty and power of the ocean. The mesopelagic is a symbol of the unknown, a reminder that the world is still full of wonders waiting to be discovered. It challenges us to look beyond the surface, to seek out the hidden connections that bind us to the rest of life, and to recognize the value of what we cannot see. As we move forward, the challenge is to honor these connections, to protect the Twilight Zone and the web of life it supports, to learn from its lessons and to pass on its wonders to future generations. This will require knowledge, humility, and a willingness to act, not just as individuals but as a global community. The fate of the mesopelagic is in our hands, and the choices we make will shape the future of the planet. In the next section, we will return to the surface, reflecting on the journey we have taken and the responsibilities that come with knowledge. What does it mean to be a steward of the ocean's most dangerous layer? How can we translate the lessons of the Twilight Zone into action, both in our own lives and in the world at large? And what legacy will we leave for those who come after us? The answers are not simple, but the journey is worth taking for the sake of the ocean and for the sake of us all. As we rise from the depths of the Twilight Zone and return to the surface, we carry with us more than just knowledge. We carry a sense of responsibility. To explore the ocean's most dangerous layer is to witness both the fragility and the resilience of life, to see firsthand how interconnected our world truly is. The journey changes us, challenging us to think differently about our place on this planet and the legacy we will leave behind. Stewardship of the Twilight Zone begins with awareness. It is easy to forget about the layers of the ocean that lie beyond our sight, to assume that what happens in the deep has little to do with our daily lives. But the truth is that the health of the mesopelagic is intimately tied to the air we breathe, the food we eat, and the climate we depend on. The vertical migrations that play out in the darkness each night help regulate the planet's temperature, support global fisheries, and sustain the cycles that make life possible. To ignore the Twilight Zone is to ignore a vital part of the Earth's life support system. Action, however, must follow awareness. The threats facing the Twilight Zone, overfishing, pollution, and climate change are daunting, but they are not insurmountable. Each of us has a role to play, whether as consumers, voters, educators, or advocates. By supporting sustainable seafood, reducing our use of plastics, and demanding stronger protections for the ocean, we can help safeguard the mesopelagic for future generations. Small choices, multiplied across millions of people, can have a profound impact. But stewardship is not just about what we do, it is about how we think. The Twilight Zone teaches us the value of humility, of recognizing the limits of our knowledge and the importance of caution in the face of uncertainty. It reminds us that the world is full of mysteries and that our actions can have consequences far beyond what we can see or predict. In a time of rapid change and growing challenges, this mindset is more important than ever. Education is a powerful tool for change. By sharing the story of the Twilight Zone in classrooms, in communities, and through the media, we can inspire curiosity and stewardship in the next generation. The wonders of the mesopelagic are a gateway to broader conversations about science, conservation, and our relationship with the natural world. When people understand the value of the deep, they are more likely to care for it, to defend it, and to imagine new ways of living in harmony with the ocean. Collaboration is essential. The Twilight Zone is a global commons, and its protection requires cooperation across borders, disciplines, and sectors. Scientists, policymakers, industry leaders, and citizens must work together to develop solutions that balance the needs of people and the planet. International agreements, marine protected areas, and innovative technologies are all part of the toolkit, but so too are local initiatives, traditional knowledge, and community engagement. The challenges are complex, but the opportunities for positive change are immense. As we reflect on our journey, we are reminded that stewardship is not a destination, but a process, a continuous commitment to learning, adapting, and acting in the best interests of the whole. The creatures of the Twilight Zone have survived for millions of years by embracing change, by finding strength in diversity, and by working together in the face of adversity. Their example is a guide for us all. As we navigate the uncertainties of the future, the legacy we leave will be shaped by the choices we make today. Will we be remembered as the generation that unlocked the secrets of the deep, only to squander its riches, or as the stewards who recognized the value of the unknown and acted to protect it for those who come after us? The answer is still unwritten, and the power to shape it lies in our hands. In the next section, we will look ahead, imagining the future of the Twilight Zone and the role it will play in the unfolding story of life on Earth. What new discoveries await in the darkness? How will the mesopelagic respond to the challenges and opportunities of the coming decades? And how can we ensure that the wonders of the ocean's most dangerous layer continue to inspire, sustain, and connect us all? The journey is not over, it is only just beginning, and the next chapter is ours to write. The future of the Twilight Zone is a story still unfolding, written by the hands of scientists, policymakers, and every person who cares about the ocean. As we look ahead, the possibilities are as vast and mysterious as the mesopelagic itself. What new discoveries will emerge from the darkness? What challenges will test the resilience of this hidden world? And how will our actions today shape the fate of the ocean's most dangerous layer for generations to come? One thing is certain, the pace of discovery is accelerating. With every new expedition, every technological breakthrough, the Twilight Zone yields more of its secrets. Autonomous underwater vehicles now glide silently through the depths, mapping the terrain and recording the movements of creatures never before seen. Environmental DNA sampling reveals the presence of species from a single drop of water, hinting at a biodiversity that far exceeds our current understanding. Deep-sea cameras capture moments of drama and beauty, predators hunting, schools migrating, bioluminescent displays that rival the night sky. These discoveries are not just scientific milestones, they are windows into the future. By understanding the adaptations and behaviors of Twilight Zone creatures, we gain insights into how life can persist in the face of adversity. Their strategies, flexibility, cooperation, and innovation are lessons for a world grappling with rapid change. The resilience of the mesopelagic is a source of hope, a reminder that life can endure, adapt, and even thrive in the harshest of environments. Yet the challenges are formidable. Climate change continues to alter the chemistry and currents of the ocean, pushing species to new depths and disrupting the delicate balance of the mesopelagic. Overfishing threatens to unravel the food webs that sustain life in the deep, while pollution seeps ever downward, contaminating even the most remote corners of the sea. The Twilight Zone is resilient, but it is not invincible. Its future depends on our willingness to act, to protect, to restore, and to innovate. Innovation will be key. New technologies are making it possible to monitor the health of the Twilight Zone in real time, to track changes in temperature, oxygen, and biodiversity, and to respond quickly to emerging threats. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are helping scientists analyze vast datasets, revealing patterns and trends that would be invisible to the human eye. These tools are not just expanding our knowledge, they are empowering us to make better decisions, to anticipate problems, and to design solutions that balance the needs of people and the planet. Policy and governance will play a central role. The Twilight Zone is a global commons and its protection requires international cooperation. Treaties and agreements must be strengthened, enforcement improved, and resources shared. The lessons of the past are clear. When nations work together, they can achieve remarkable things. The recovery of whale populations, the creation of marine reserves, and the reduction of certain pollutants are all testaments to the power of collective action. But the future of the Twilight Zone is not just a matter for governments and scientists. It is a story that belongs to all of us. Each person has a role to play, whether by supporting sustainable seafood, reducing plastic use, advocating for stronger protections, or simply sharing the wonders of the deep with others. The choices we make in our daily lives ripple outward, shaping the fate of the ocean in ways both large and small. Education and outreach will be more important than ever. By bringing the story of the Twilight Zone into classrooms, communities, and the media, we can inspire curiosity and stewardship in the next generation. The wonders of the mesopelagic are a gateway to broader conversations about science, conservation, and our relationship with the natural world. When people understand the value of the deep, they are more likely to care for it, to defend it, and to imagine new ways of living in harmony with the ocean. As we look to the future, we are reminded that the greatest discoveries often lie just beyond the edge of what we know. The Twilight Zone is a frontier, a place where the boundaries of science, art, and imagination converge. Its mysteries are not just puzzles to be solved, but invitations to dream, to explore, and to seek out new horizons. In the next section, we will draw our journey to a close, reflecting on the enduring legacy of the Twilight Zone and the lessons it offers for the future. What does it mean to be a part of a world where so much remains unknown? How can the mysteries of the mesopelagic inspire us to care for the planet and for each other? And what final message does the ocean's most dangerous layer hold for those willing to listen? The answers are waiting in the darkness, and the story is ours to continue. As our exploration of the Twilight Zone approaches its end, we find ourselves standing at the threshold of the unknown, gazing back at the path we have traveled, and forward into the mysteries that remain. The journey through the ocean's most dangerous layer has been one of discovery, wonder, and reflection. A reminder that the world is far more complex, beautiful, and interconnected than we often realize. The legacy of the Twilight Zone is not just written in the scientific papers and data sets of researchers, but in the hearts and minds of all who have been touched by its story. It is a legacy of curiosity, of daring to ask questions and seek answers in places where few have looked before. It is a legacy of humility, of recognizing the limits of our knowledge and the need for caution in the face of uncertainty. And it is a legacy of hope, of believing that even in the darkest depths life can flourish and new possibilities can emerge. The lessons of the Twilight Zone are as relevant on land as they are in the sea. In a world facing unprecedented challenges, climate change, biodiversity loss, and social upheaval, the strategies of the mesopelagic offer guidance. Flexibility, cooperation, and innovation are not just the keys to survival in the deep. They are the foundations of resilience in any environment. The creatures of the Twilight Zone have thrived for millions of years by adapting to change, by finding opportunity in adversity, and by working together in the face of danger. Their example is a guide for us all, as we navigate the uncertainties of our own time. The enduring mystery of the Twilight Zone is a source of inspiration. It reminds us that the world is still full of wonders waiting to be discovered, that the unknown is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. The ocean's most dangerous layer is also its most promising, a place where the boundaries of knowledge are constantly being pushed, and where the next great discovery may be just a dive away. The spirit of exploration that drives scientists into the depths is the same spirit that has propelled humanity to cross oceans, climb mountains, and reach for the stars. But the story of the Twilight Zone is not just one of science and adventure. It is a story of connection, between the surface and the deep, between past and future, between people and the planet. The health of the mesopelagic is inseparable from the health of the entire ocean, and its fate is tied to the fate of countless other ecosystems. The choices we make today will shape the world of tomorrow, not just for ourselves, but for all the life that depends on the sea. As we draw our journey to a close, we are left with a sense of gratitude for the wonders we have witnessed, for the knowledge we have gained, and for the opportunity to be part of a story that is still unfolding. The Twilight Zone is a reminder that the world is a place of endless possibility, that every question answered leads to new questions, and that the pursuit of understanding is a journey without end. The final message of the Twilight Zone is one of stewardship. To explore is to care, to know is to protect. The ocean's most dangerous layer is also its most vital, a linchpin of the planet's health and a wellspring of wonder and discovery. Its secrets are not just curiosities, they are keys to understanding the resilience of life, the fragility of ecosystems, and the power of connection. As we prepare to leave the depths and return to the surface, we carry with us the responsibility to act, to protect the Twilight Zone and the web of life it supports, to learn from its lessons and to pass on its wonders to future generations. The journey is not over. It is only just beginning. The next chapter will be written by those who dare to dream, to explore, and to care for the world we share. In the final section, we will offer a call to action, a challenge and an invitation to all who have followed this journey. What can each of us do to honor the legacy of the Twilight Zone? How can we ensure that its mysteries continue to inspire, sustain, and connect us all? The answers are within our reach, waiting to be discovered in the choices we make and the stories we tell. The story of the Twilight Zone is not just a tale of the ocean's most dangerous layer. It is a mirror held up to humanity, reflecting our curiosity, our ingenuity, and our responsibility. As we surface from the depths, the lessons of the mesopelagic linger, echoing in the choices we make and the futures we imagine. The journey has revealed a world of perpetual dusk, where life thrives against the odds, where every adaptation is a testament to resilience, and where every mystery is an invitation to look deeper. Now the call to action is clear. The fate of the Twilight Zone and of the ocean itself rests in our hands. Each of us, no matter where we live or what we do, is connected to the sea. The air we breathe, the food we eat, the climate that shapes our days, all are tied to the hidden cycles of the deep. To honor the legacy of the Twilight Zone is to recognize this connection, to act as stewards of a world that is both fragile and vital. What can we do? The answer begins with awareness. Share the story of the Twilight Zone with others, friends, family, students, and colleagues. Let the wonders of the mesopelagic inspire conversations about science, conservation, and the beauty of the unknown. Support organizations and initiatives that protect the ocean, whether through research, policy, or community action. Choose seafood that is sustainably sourced. Reduce your use of plastics and advocate for stronger protections for marine life. Every action, no matter how small, is a ripple that can grow into a wave of change. But action is not just about individual choices. It is about coming together across borders, disciplines, and generations to build a future where the Twilight Zone and all its inhabitants can thrive. Scientists, policymakers, industry leaders, and citizens must collaborate to develop solutions that balance the needs of people and the planet. International agreements, marine protected areas, and innovative technologies are all part of the toolkit. But so too are local initiatives, traditional knowledge, and the voices of those who depend on the sea for their livelihoods. Education is a cornerstone of this effort. By bringing the story of the Twilight Zone into classrooms, museums, and the media, we can inspire the next generation of ocean stewards. Citizen science projects, where people of all ages contribute to research and monitoring, are breaking down barriers and making conservation a shared endeavor. The more we know, the more we care. And the more we care, the more we are willing to act. The Twilight Zone also challenges us to embrace humility and wonder. In a world that often values certainty and control, the mesopelagic is a reminder that mystery is not a weakness, but a strength. The unknown is a source of creativity, a catalyst for discovery and a wellspring of hope. By cherishing the mysteries of the deep, we keep alive the spirit of exploration that has driven humanity for millennia. As we close this journey, let us remember that the story of the Twilight Zone is far from over. The ocean's most dangerous layer is also its most promising, a place where the boundaries of knowledge are constantly being pushed, and where the next great discovery may be just a dive away. The spirit of exploration, the drive to understand, and the commitment to protect are all part of the legacy we inherit and the legacy we leave. So, let us answer the call. Let us be the generation that not only unlocks the secrets of the deep, but also safeguards its wonders for those who come after us. Let us act with knowledge, humility, and determination, knowing that the choices we make today will shape the world of tomorrow. The Twilight Zone is waiting, its secrets, its challenges, and its beauty are all within our reach. The ocean's most dangerous layer has shown us that life can flourish in the most unlikely places, that resilience is born of adaptation, and that the unknown is a frontier worth exploring. As we return to the surface, let us carry these lessons with us, letting them guide our actions, our dreams, and our stewardship of the blue planet we call home. The voyage is never truly over. The next chapter is waiting, somewhere in the silence below, in the flicker of bioluminescence, in the pulse of the currents, in the questions yet to be asked, and the answers yet to be found. The Twilight Zone calls to all who are willing to listen, to learn, and to care. Let us dive deeper, look closer, and protect what we discover. The secrets of the Twilight Zone are not just the ocean's, they are ours, and their story is the story of us all.